Let me get to speak to my other guests who are coming on this discussion. Dr. Tony Aubynn, if you are with us, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us on Newsfile.
Good morning, Samson, and good morning to your viewers.
Right. So as someone who has previously had the opportunity, you spent quite considerable time within this area and also became the chief executive of the Minerals Commission. First off, how do you assess what has happened and what ought to be the path to resolving the issues as a result of this?
Okay, well, thank you very much. I come from the area where this fatality occurred. I am about 30 minutes away, and so I'm feeling it directly and personally for what happened. So it was horrible, terrible, and very, very sad. Now, I think the whole issue of the management of explosives, including the transportation of explosives, is well guided by LI 2177, and it's quite detailed enough for one to be guided by it. So I think we should look at what the LI requires and what happened in reality on that fateful day. I mean, the issue is, how do you transport explosives? And there are clear requirements. In fact, one thing that I know about the mining industry is some of the big ones, they are penchant for strict application of safety measures. So what happened? What was the issue? What happened?
Accidents happen. So accidents happened.
Yeah, so if it was an accident that did not come out of negligence, then that's another one. I mean, if it's a normal accident that was out of any control, then that is acceptable.
Yeah, so from what you have heard so far, what do you say? Do you find immediately that there's some cause to look at the question of negligence?
Yeah, we need to understand whether there was an escort with all the requirement of an escort vehicle, one in front and one behind. I don't know. I don't also know the state of mind of the driver, because there's a requirement for the driver to be competent and certified and licensed, to be able to do that. So all these questions may come up. But I think the step that has been taken so far...
I think we can exhaust that briefly. I think one thing is curious. So far in the conversations, we hear about the driver and the good thing he did in going to the community and, cautioning and asking them to move to safety because, he had explosives and, they could get in flames and the danger will be caused and many will be harmed. Unfortunately, they didn't listen to him. We understand that he spoke to a school nearby. They appear to have listened and moved to safety. But we don't hear anything about a dispatch rider. At least I have not yet. How about you? Have you heard anything about a dispatch?
Well, I saw the police interview by the police commissioner. That seemed to suggest that there was a police escort. But the requirement is not just one escort in front and maybe not a motorbike. It must be an escort vehicle with a flag on it, a red flag on it, indicating that the vehicle following me is carrying an explosive material.
The law doesn't give that detail. The law simply speaks about, a motor, escort, so to speak.
Yeah, but there's an industry requirement. There's an industry requirement. An escort could not just be any vehicle just driving in front of another vehicle. So I think there's an industry requirement, and everybody knows it. And when they're escorting, sometimes even these giant vehicles, the excavators, bigger excavators, and other haulage vehicles that have been escorted, you see maybe a pickup with a flag and sometimes light being flicked out so that you would see that there's something coming which is dangerous. I don't know. I cannot say they did that or they didn't do that. But so far, all I have heard is that the police had an escort. I don't know if they had an escort in front and the guard at the back. That one, I don't know. But it might be like, because this thing has been happening and we haven't experienced any fatality, any major accident, I'm sure we've taken that for granted. I mean, we do that often in our country where nothing has happened. We assume that it will never happen. So I think
you're saying this is not the first of such incidents.
I'm saying that in our country, I don't think we have experienced. I cannot recall any battery incident in a level of fatality that we have seen. And even if it's one, it is one too many, especially given what we have seen. You know, it shouldn't have happened. But as you said, accidents do happen. And sometimes when real accidents happen, they are out of control of people who are managing it. So that we can grant that. But I think the step that has been initiated by Honorable Abu and his team is quite right. In fact, I spoke on your network on the date of the incident, and I called for an immediate investigation into the matter, just to establish what caused the reality of what caused the incident, the accident, and then also if there are some corrections that need to be made, then we make them, and if there are some people who need to be brought to book. Right.
So admittedly, like the minister has been cautioning and himself has been cautious throughout, we all have to wait for the investigations, right?
Absolutely.
But absolutely. You will say that the first steps in interdicting the Chief Inspector of Mines and suspending Maxam is in the right direction?
Yes, I mean, I think the minister was quite on point when he said that this is not a statement that the Chief Inspector of Mines has done any wrong. I think it is, if it is for the integrity of the investigation, it is right that you set him aside so that he will have the freedom to gather materials and to answer questions in the round. But I agree with him that it is not a statement that the Chief Inspector of Mines has done any wrong. Unfortunately, if you are clothed by law that you are as the one who supervises the manufacture of of explosive and the transportation and all that, then whatever happens, it comes around your neck, unfortunately. So we need to wait for the investigations, and the investigations must be thorough, and at the end of the day, it must be transparent as well.
So the same thing may apply to, if you are saying Maxam is suspended, and for now, they haven't done anything wrong because you don't have the evidence. The Chief Inspector of Mines, you don't have any evidence that he's done anything wrong, but it is just something you want to do and feel is in the right step pending investigations. How about the Shirano company, mining company itself? That was supposed to be the intended recipient.
Yes, but it's like you trying to import something, and then there's an accident, and you say that the importer must be punished or must be in a way suspended because he wanted to import it or he imported it.
But this is not exactly a good example to give if it has to do with the transportation of explosives. Yes, it's not an ordinary case of seeking to import something and then the importer being punished even when they have not received the goods yet.
No, Samson, this is a material used in mining. So you will need that material. There is a company which is independent which does the manufacturing and transportation to the site. So obviously, I don't know what arrangement they have, whether the responsibility ends at the doorstep of Chirano or what. Once you start moving the goods from a particular location, the responsibility shifts to Chirano. If that is not so, then at this stage, Chirano may be asked to do something to support community in the fatality that has occurred and be sort of.
Well, there are those who are suggesting already that the mining entities involved should take the bigger, responsibility in rehabilitating the community. So if there are fines and so on to be slapped on, they should take the heftier, fines.
If I were Chirano, I wouldn't even wait for a fine to be hefty or less. I would actually boldly come to the support of the community, knowing very well that you are the entity that was requesting material to be transported. So on moral ground, purely even on moral ground and on corporate social responsibility ground, if I were Chirano and if I were to advise them, I'll ask them to actually show responsibility immediately and take it from there. Okay. And obviously, the investigation will not leave them. I'm sure they will ask them a couple of questions. So I think we should wait for that.
All right. Because of the public nature of this thing, I asked the minister if the results or the report of the investigations will be made public. He tells me we should wait until it is done. Should we not know beforehand that this report will be a public document?
Well, I mean, that's interesting. I think it should be, transparency is extremely important, unless there's something proprietary about what they are going to find. Otherwise, I think if it is transparent, people can live with them. Why do they do truth and reconciliation commissions when people have to tell things that are horrible? But at the end of the day, will settle their heart. So I would ask for a much transparent investigation. But the minister was not categorical on that. He said that well, let's wait and see. So maybe upon reflection and upon consultation, he will come to the conclusion that maybe we are better off having an open, transparent.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Tony Aubynn, founder and president, African Institute of Extractive Industries, and he's a former CEO of the Minerals Commission.